electoral chamber, the courtroom.
We're looking at images from the Supreme Court of Justice, and the authorities are entering the chamber. We are about to listen to the statement that the authorities are going to make regarding the process that is being carried out at the highest court of Venezuela. Let's listen.
The President of the Supreme Court of Justice is about to pronounce herself. Good morning for all of you. I begin to thanking your attendance and your appearance, and for excellent ambassadors and international organizations and representatives of the diplomatic corps accredited in the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. Dr. Tarek William Saab, President of the Council and Attorney General. Dr. Elvis Amoroso, President of the National Electoral Council. Dr. Alfredo Ruiz, Ombudsman. Citizen Ivan Hill, Foreign Minister. Dr. Reinaldo Munoz, Procurator of the Republic, and citizens directors and directors of the National Electoral Council, citizens deputy ministers of the Popular Ministry for for Foreign Relations, distinguished representatives of media outlets, ladies and gentlemen. Today, on August 22, we have been summoned here to the headquarters of the judicial power to share information of interest. I want to take advantage of these words to thank the whole staff participating in this exhausting auditing process for their professionalism and the support demonstrated and the high training showed by the national and international experts. Following the legacy of Libertador Simón Bolívar, the Constituent's power gave birth the nominated judicial power to dedicate and constitutionalize the transcendence of the public opinion in the public affairs, and in addition it created the electoral chamber in the Supreme Court of Justice as an entity to discuss electoral controversies. The Supreme Court of Justice considers to reiterates the commitment and the will of providing justice to guarantee peace and tranquility of the Republic. That's why we won't stop in our sacred holy mission. In function of which I read the final judgment that decides and concludes in a definite way the contentious appeal of the regarding the elections on July 28th. Now I read the final judgment. For the reasons hereby exposed, this electoral chamber of the Supreme Court of Justice, administering justice on behalf of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, by the authority abided by law, declared first, it is ratified the competency of this electoral chamber anytime it was the contentious appeal accepted to verify and validate, to certify unequivocally the results of the electoral process held on July 28, 2024, and so it is the attachment of this action in compliance with the Article 297 of the Constitution of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela and the Article 27 of the Court of Justice that attributed the judicial control of actions of the parties that participate in the aforesaid election. And about the rights of elections, it is competent to say that it was asked to verify which has been the will of the turnout in the presidential elections, as in which it was evident a massive cyber attack against the electoral system, which resulted in a crystal clear transgression to the electoral power, and it is such competency. It is ruled by this Supreme Court, and to strengthen the electoral culture as a novelty means in this position of our citizenship for the state to guarantee its protagonism as it is stipulated in this electoral chamber. Beyond our borders, examining the right compared in similar situation for the election of head of states, other nations exercising their jurisdiction have issued pronouncements about the electoral controversies, as it is the case of the United States of Mexico, and they issued the judgment on the election in August 2024, declaring the elections and guaranteeing the social peace by this means. Likewise, it occurred in the last process of presidential elections held in Brazil on October 30, 2022, in which development there were claims referred to electoral fraud, in which the High Court of Justice interfered as the maximum authority in electoral controversies, which the court made decisions in an attempt to avoid a crisis in that country. And in the elections in presidential elections in 2000, the results were controversial, and the situation was solved by the Supreme Court of Justice. So it is clear that ahead of electoral controversies, the Supreme Court of Justice constitutes the last entity for its resolution as guarantors of the state of right, and that the National Electoral Council as a ruling authority of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela on August 5, 2024, appeared with the main rectors headed by its president Eduardo Elvis Amoroso, in compliance with the request by the electoral chamber of the Supreme Court of Justice, and they delivered all material attached to the elections on July 28th. set by the rector Juan Carlos del Pino, who didn't appear before the Supreme Court of Justice of Venezuela, and he didn't justify his absence. So, having been summoned by August 8, 2024, the 38 political parties have been appearing, and only 33 delivered the affidavits required. The first Venezuela movement, Unidad Acción Democrática, Republican Movement, Red Flag, Derecha Democrática Popular, and so she's mentioning the political parties that appeared in this before this court. United Socialist Party of Venezuela, Tupamaru, Green Party of Venezuela, Electoral Movement of the People, Future Party, Communist Party of Venezuela, Popular Unity of Venezuela, and Alliance for the Change. And likewise, of the 10 presidential candidates, 9 appeared before the court. Citizens Antonio Carrillo, Enrique Marquez, José Brito, Luis Eduardo Martinez, Daniel Ceballos, Javier Bertucci, Claudio Fermín, Benjamín Ronceo, and President Nicolás Maduro. Moros. So it is being submitted record that the political parties, Pencil Party, and they didn't deliver the required documents, and Enrique Marquez didn't deliver the affidavits. So it is decided that all electoral material delivered by the National Electoral Council and the political parties are safeguarded in this electoral chamber of the Supreme Court of Justice. Third, that the former candidate Edmundo González Gurrutia didn't attend any stages of this process at which he was subpoenaed, so he didn't comply with the order of the Supreme Court of Justice, which is the highest entity in Venezuela, and he didn't deliver any tally sheets or any list of witnesses or any electoral material whatsoever. So in consequence, he disregarded the order of the order, and he disrespected the authority of the Supreme Court of Justice. So his behavior, that's why there are the following sanctions against him. And citizen and José Luis Cartaya, representative of the Mesa, Simón Calzadilla, representative of Movement of Venezuela, all of them members of the Alliance Unitary Platform, Democratic Unitary Platform, support citizen Edmundo González Gurrutia. They didn't deliver any electoral material, arguing that they didn't have any electoral documentation on. So they expressed that they don't have tally sheets or any list of witnesses of the polling stations, and so so it is assumed that they didn't participate in the polling stations of this election. So as contrary to what is recorded in the videos of their attendance. So national experts and international experts it constitutes a full proof of this contentious electoral contentious appeal, referred to the auditing process of all the documents delivered by the National Electoral Council in physics or digital related to the elections on July 28th. And so executed in compliance with the highest technical standards, in which once it was examined all material collected, such auditing determined that on the grounds of the results obtained in the auditing process, we can conclude that the bulletins issued by the National Electoral Council regarding the presidential election in 2024 are backed up by the tally sheets issued by the electoral machines of the electoral process. Likewise, these tally sheets maintain full coincidence with the registrations of the database of all national totalization centers. Fifth, this electoral chamber declares that the present contentious appeal on the grounds of the auditing process carried out and verified that on the grounds of the briefing of national and international experts highly trained who guaranteed the maximum level of excellence. This electoral chamber certifies that the electoral material, the auditing electoral material, validates the results of the election on July 28th issued by the National Electoral Council, in which resulted elected citizen Nicolás Maduro Moros as President of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela for the 2025-2031 term, and so it is decided. Sixth, it is urged the National Electoral Council to publish the final results of elections on July 28th, 2024 for the election of the President of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, to be issued in the Gazette of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, which is stipulated in the Article 165, which says, Article 155, the National Electoral Council will order the publication of results of the electoral processes in the Electoral Gazette of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela within the 30 days after the proclamation of the elected candidates. It is submitted a certified copy of this final judgment to the Attorney General of the Republic, citizen Tarek William Saab, to the end that be included to the penal investigations about the irregular events that this institution anticipates, as we cited, to determine the responsibility of the case ahead of the uncertainty caused by the population of those forgery of public documents, instigation of disobedience of laws, and conspiracy. I close quotations. In virtue of documents allegedly false or forged, uploaded in the website presidential results, as well as this massive cyber attack denounced against the National Electoral Council that could link alleged criminal behavior and crimes against the judicial order, issued and registered and communicate and comply with the requested, signed and sealed in the electoral chamber of the Supreme Court of Justice, and 200 justices, President Carislia Beatriz Rodriguez, Vice President Fanny Beatriz Márquez Cordero, and Justice Inocencio Antonio Figueroa, and Clerk Intiana Lopez. That's all.
Palabras de la magistrada presidenta del Tribunal Supremo de Justicia, una vez que ha compartido información importante, además lo que resultó de ese veredicto final de esta investigación que realizó la Sala Electoral del Tribunal Supremo.
The President of the Supreme Court of Justice of Venezuela, in the statement that she has just announced, an important statement that confirmed the results published after the 28th election in Venezuela, the results that had been originally published by the National Electoral Council. And these were the images we were saying. We will confirm the important announcement, among other topics. The important announcement that was marked by the tribunal was that they were ratifying the original results, the results that were presented by the National Electoral Council on the July 28th elections that announced Nicolás Maduro Moros as president, re-elected president of Venezuela. That was the highlight, the main points of the statement that we have just heard at the Supreme Court of Justice. We're looking at images from the top court. Let's recall we've just heard from Carislia Rodriguez, President of the Supreme Court of Justice of Venezuela, also President of the Electoral Chamber that has been dealing with the electoral process, and the contentious appeal that was filed in order for the Supreme Court to be able to handle and investigate in full all of the things that had to do with the electoral process. Now we are looking at, we're listening to the
activity carried out by the Electoral Chamber of the Supreme Court of Justice, which issued the final judgment, unprecedented and historical for the country. I consider, as Attorney General of the Republic, that the final judgment must be complied with in all its parts, and it validates the electoral results issued by the only authority of the country, which is the National Electoral Council, in the terms already known. And among other things, it expresses clearly the remission of such final judgment, in one of its items mentions a communique of the prosecutor's office that was related to the ongoing investigation, which we will inform in the upcoming hours about the usurpation of functions and electoral crimes, conspiracy, among others, caused by or led by the ones who were planning to disregard the legitimate authority to issue the results, the National Electoral Council, and used the electoral theme to escalate the criminal terrorist actions, which has no peaceful character, and we already denounced and processed and sentenced that are in full process. And so that's why parallel to those actions which are going punishable, in which we noted the terrorist crimes led by the known comanditos, all of them were committing crimes. Those 27 deaths I have added to motorbike drivers who were crashing due to these hate crimes by these criminals. So in parallel with this investigation that we have arrested several criminals, we have been using all judicial resources and complying with that final judgment to advance and deepen those investigations that will have results, and we will announce it in due time. Thank you very much. And it is also the foreign minister here representing the diplomatic corps. What's been happening here in the electoral chamber of the Supreme Court of Justice. What's your message? Well, first, I want to thank the president of the Supreme Court of Justice, the president of the electoral chamber, who has exposed before the world. And in Venezuela, here they were attending the whole diplomatic corps in Venezuela. And so the president closes an electoral process with this final judgment. And we have seen, and at an international level, it has been close attention to this contentious appeal. We have contentious appeal and elections. We have received lots of congratulations about our electoral process, and also as we have denounced the coup d'etat that was attempted on Venezuela, it was planned by overseas, and it is clear, it is described the whole process as how it was held, the competencies that has the Supreme Court of Justice and the competencies of the National Electoral Council. And it is very important for the world to know that in Venezuela it has triumphed the constitution of the Bolivarian Republic, and it has triumphed its constitution once again. We demand respect, we demand non-interference in our internal affairs. As you can see live on TV are matters that have a solution within the framework of our laws, our constitution, and we have reflected in the final judgment of the Supreme Court of Justice after the auditing process, after the express labor. We have seen this in the peace, social and political daily life in Venezuela. And so the actions, the violent actions that committed by some criminal groups on July 20th and 31st, how peace was reestablished, and this peace we are living a byproduct of the electoral result attached to the will of the Venezuelan people. We express the word peace. Venezuela is continuing at peace. We are building peace, and the Venezuelan government has called to some dialogue at the level of economic and political sectors. We are going to go through an electoral process about the communes, and Venezuela is at peace and tranquility, and we have transmitted that to the whole world. Thank you very much, Foreign Minister. This is a very important statement, and it has triumphed peace. And it is present here in this appearance representatives of the moral power of the and we want to listen to the opinion about this final judgment of the Supreme Court of Justice, which has been ratifying the institutionality of the state of Venezuela. Well, it is important, the final judgment of the Supreme Court of Justice, that on the one side ratifies what determined the electoral power, and ahead of the situation that could generate some hesitation, it sort out any doubts, because that's the function, that's the role of the electoral chamber, to sort out this electoral controversy, guaranteeing that in Venezuela the vote, the political participation, is a human right, a fundamental human right, and it is important, this final judgment, not only the results of the National Electoral Council, but also this final judgment of the Supreme Court of Justice, that after the examination of all tally sheets, all evidence presented, and this decision is going to be a guarantee, and the call is to respect mutually, to respect all regular channels, to sort out conflicts that have nothing to do with violence, and guarantee, as is already given, the guarantee of peace and respect of all, that is precisely the respect of human rights. Thank you very much. And it is the end by the first opinions of the Attorney General of the Republic, and in which there were validated and certified the results of the electoral process and the winning of President Nicolás Maduro Moros. And these are the first impressions, the first opinions of this final judgment, in which diplomatic corps have been appearing, and all media outlets.
We were listening to the Supreme Court of Justice, first the President of the Supreme Court of Justice of Venezuela and also of the Electoral Chamber, Caricia Rodriguez, the President of the top court, ratified the jurisdiction and competence of the tribunal regarding the appeal presented before the court. And the most important highlight of this message was that the top court, after the process initiated by the contentious appeal that was filed before the court, ratified the results that were published by the National Electoral Council, that were the results that were presented on July 28th that gave Nicolás Maduro as a winner. Afterwards, we were listening to Attorney General Tarek William Saab and also Foreign Minister Ivan Gil giving their impressions on the matter and the importance of this validation, this statement that was presented by the Supreme Court of Justice. We continue looking at different interviews that are happening right now at the Supreme Court of Justice. Let's see.
The state and the state of justice and exercises the resources, the competent resources. That this final judgment ends this controversy, and indeed it occurred an exhaustive review of all electoral material, and that auditing process allows certifying that the results were the results seen by all Venezuelans, and we have to expect the issuance of the results, and those people who were determined to change the legitimate results respect these results and live at peace here. Well, this we share with you other opinions about this final judgment of the Supreme Court of Justice, and
the Chamber of the Supreme Court of Justice, a couple of interviews were being made. Let's recall that the most important thing that is happening right now at the Supreme Court of Justice, we were looking at live images. We will continue following the most important thing. The Supreme Court of Justice has just presented its statement on the investigation that was carrying regarding the contentious appeal that was filed over the electoral process, and the highlight of the statement is that the top court of Venezuela has ratified, it has validated the results that were previously presented by the National Electoral Council on July 28th that gave the victory, the electoral victory, to President Nicolás Maduro. This was one of the most important statements that were being left. Let's go to live images in Caracas. Let's see.
Today, the electoral chamber and mostly in the international arena, we know the ALBA countries have respected the electoral results, but let's remember that there are international voices joining the and disregarding narrative. And so what's your stance after hearing the final judgment about the ALBA? Well, as a secretary of ALBA, it is to inform and send copies of the 10 governments of the ALBA-TCP and even the social movements in ALBA. And so it renders accounts how the Venezuelan institutionality took the challenge of giving confidence to the country and, in first place, to the international community about what was happening on July 28th election. And the ALBA countries, as you have said, congratulated the victory of President Nicolás Maduro. And of course, when the own president appealed to the Supreme Court of Justice, and it is developed this electoral contentious appeal, the ALBA countries have followed this process. We have informing the process, and so it is being closed. This chapter as have already occurred in several nations, as Mexico, United States, and in which the highest entity, the Supreme Court of Justice, gave its last word with the final judgment. And we think that the Supreme Court of Justice has been an example. And of course, the judicial powers of the ALBA countries will be informed about this process that could guarantee peace not only in Venezuela but being an example for other countries in the world. Thank you very much, and we thank the Secretary.
We were listening to Jorge Arreaza again give his statement from Caracas, Venezuela, from the Supreme Court of Justice, as they are continue to analyze the important statement that the top court just issued on the results of the presidential elections, confirming the results of the National Electoral Council. Let's continue looking at different impressions and different interviews that are happening right now at the Supreme Court of Justice. We were just listening to Jorge Arreaza, and this is Freddy Náñez.
An act of the highest institutionality that ratifies the Republican character of our processes, of our institutions, I insist, and besides, it has ratified that everything that has been the contentious appeal has been duly informed, and it has been a public fact, a transparent fact, and it's being strengthened the Venezuelan institutionality, and it's crystal clear that all answers to the political contingency in our country are already written and in the Constitution of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, which are abided by the Venezuelan will. Our institutions are strengthened and are in compliance with what's happening on the street. It's a spirit of peace, of normality, and the Venezuelans accord and political resolution any conflicts being held here. And so right now, let's make a great effort to communicate, to disseminate in a truthful character this event, this unprecedented event, which will be recalled in the history as an event of the highest democratic level. All Venezuelans, we hope this. A ship that arrives at its port within the framework of laws and democracy. With this final judgment so clear and steadfast, it is strengthening our electoral power, because it has been an electoral power that, despite the cyber attacks that continue suffering, provided the information, the tally sheets with a unique electoral system, guaranteed, despite the ongoing cyber coup d'etat, guaranteed the will of the Venezuelan people, which was safeguarded by institutionality. I am very pleased about these results. And with this final judgment, it is ratified the institutionality of Venezuela, and it is an example for the world that the Venezuelans are responsible and have the capacity to sort out its own problems without any intervention. And that's the big message that we could highlight at the international arena. Definitely, there's the importance of attending this event, the diplomatic accredited corps, and that the diplomatic corps have been witnessing how institutions work, and how this principle of sovereignty, of self-determination of the peoples work here, which guarantee that we have an international right. And besides, this event is part of a precedent that have occurred in several countries of the world, in which when there is an electoral controversy, a Supreme Court of Justice decides and is part of the problem. But all powers are part of a system of the Republic. And we have to highlight that the President of the Republic, which is a constituent, one of the Venezuelans that were able to write chapters of this constitution, when it was the time, he appealed to constitution and searched a democratic resolution, a political resolution, a Republican resolution, and there it is the highest, the goodness of the head of state, which in which he prevailed the sovereignty of the country and the peace of Venezuelans. And so, as a result, this is a thorough process. Till today, the Supreme Court of Justice have given information about all moments of this process, of this auditing process, and all Venezuelans have been very invested. And so, as Ministry of Communications, this what have been happening could be disseminated in the international media outlets, and we could we could disrupt the communications blockade which have tried to mitigate this electoral process. So it is a call for all media outlets to disseminate the actual events in this, to take the truth of Venezuela, to tell the truth of Venezuela, and it's going to be an example for the whole world. And we, with the statements of the Deputy Minister of Communications, and
the top court, Supreme Court of Justice in Venezuela, we were just also listening to different authorities in Venezuela reacting after the important announcement, the important statement of the Supreme Court of Justice that validated the results presented by the National Electoral Council. So let's recall the importance of what we were listening right now. We were listening to, in first hand, the President of the Supreme Court of Justice, Galicia Rodriguez from Venezuela. Amid the statement, one of the most important things that she said was that the top court, the Venezuelan top court, ratified the jurisdiction and competence of the tribunal regarding the appeal presented before the court over the elections of July 28th. The most important thing is that they ratified the results of the National Electoral Council. And after this validation, we were listening to different authorities from Venezuela reacting. We listened to the Attorney General, Tarek William Saab, also Foreign Minister Ivan Gil, also Jorge Arreaza from ALBA-TCP, and also Freddy Nanez. They were all highlighting the importance of these statements that have been presented by the top court. Let's recall that also before doing this, the president of the Supreme Court of Justice, Clarissa Rodriguez, also stated that and verified the competence of the top court on electoral matters, also giving examples on other countries that have presented similar results in similar situations. So we will bring upcoming information, more information on this matter in upcoming news briefs. So stay tuned with teleSUR English.